Steve Mother Effin Smith. I am here to talk about wrestling for the next hour, hopefully hour. Last week it was an hour and a half. I'm going to try and make it an hour. I'm trying to condense this down and turn this into a nice, well, not bite size, although I want to chop it into bites, a nice little podcast that talks about this week's AEW with a point of view you've probably not heard before. Because it's my point of view, everyone's got their own point of view, and it is important that we all listen to our own points of view. Now, I'm turning my headphones down, realising it's the wrong knob. It is over here. And hopefully, I've got everything ready for today's show. So this is our third week of the Ganzobomb Wrestling Podcast. As you know, this is self-produced. I do everything here myself. So if there's any errors on screen, if there's any errors, it is all on me. It's all my fault. I don't have a producer. But that allows us freedom. If anyone wants to say anything, anyone wants to say anything, send us a message. You can come into the chat on the Twitch stream, or you can contact us on Twitter at Voice Britannia about anything. Send us it. Go for it. And if you just want to talk pure ass wrestling, or you really don't like me personally, you can contact me on my personal Twitter at SteveSmithVB. So today's show, we're going to be talking about AEW from the 20th of January 2021. Now, this Wednesday was a busy show for me. The wire's already annoying me. This Wednesday was a busy show for the world of media, because whilst there was NXT and AEW and other entertaining shows on television, the 46th president of the United States was being inaugurated. Joe Biden was being inaugurated. Donald Trump was getting fired. He didn't get fired. He actually ran away to his Florida home so he didn't have to deal with the noise or embarrassment. A bit pathetic, but that's Donald Trump for you. But yeah, so it was the inauguration on Wednesday. Now, unlike usual the inauguration of a president in America is usually a big deal. You will get hundreds of thousands of people going to Washington, D.C. There would be parades, there will be ceremonies, and the whole thing's a big elongated day-long event, which you would expect. It's a big deal. Someone's being made president. But this year, COVID-19 meant everything got did differently. Now, going into tonight, we'll talk about the ratings at the end. Makes it easier. But briefly talking about the ratings here, the experts on the ratings, like people like Dave Meltzer, they were convinced that this Wednesday was just like not worth paying attention for ratings wise, and that not a lot of people was actually going to watch the show because people would be invested, people would be watching the inauguration. Now, away from wrestling, I'm a big political nerd. I will sit and watch political stuff on the TV for hours and hours and hours. As long as there's something happening, I will watch it. But I had a hunch with this year's inauguration. I didn't think it was going to affect wrestling that bad, and apparently that is exactly what happened. Mainly because, like, obviously I'm in the UK. I'm 5 hours ahead of most things happening in the UK time-wise. And by 6 o'clock in the evening, I was bored shitless. The inauguration had finished. COVID-19 meant there was no parades, there was no nothing like that. Everything, it was just like the little ceremony on the stage at the Capitol building. They did the handshake, well, the signings and elbow bumps and stuff like that. And then they went, like what you would get at a wedding, they went through the house and they did all the signing and stuff, made it official. And that was that. Joe Biden went from the inauguration, he just went straight to the White House and got to work. There was no fucking about. And I thought that, I mean, by 6 o'clock UK time, I was bored shitless of it. I was like, man, if there's any wrestling on in America tonight, it is going to get a lot of viewers because people are now already bored. There's nothing happening. And that is exactly what happened. Which is ironic because, now, obviously, I don't know what NXT does. I don't watch NXT, so I can't really comment on what they had booked for their show. But AEW, Dynamite on the 20th, this Wednesday, it was just a regular show. Or was it? Going into this week's episode of Dynamite, I had in my head that this was going to be more of a regular episode in comparison to recent big event episodes, you know, like New Year's Smash or Winter is Coming. And to a degree, I was right about this. It was a regular episode. However, regular to AEW still usually means we're going to get some pretty entertaining stuff. It's just that instead of focusing on like random matches that don't go anywhere, exhibition matches and just weird stuff that doesn't mean anything. They use this regular show to set up more matches, to set up more storylines to go on, and just to keep the whole 80 Dynamite show rolling on, so it's not a wasted week. And it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to do that. And I think this week I think they have really, by doing that, they have made it so next week's going to be a huge number, and the Beach Break show will probably be an even bigger number. So they're on the right track, and they have managed to come through this whole insane January news period that we've had at the start of 2021. They seem to have managed to come through it relatively unscathed ratings wise. They don't seem to have lost anyone, whereas NXT is kind of in the mud now. They are kind of suffering viewers, but there's things happening that I've not really read about that happened overnight that may influence this, not in the near future, but say later on in the year. So things are going to get different with it, you know? Things are going to get a bit different with the wrestling wise. But it's something we can talk about next week, because the whole issue, I'm not sure, I think it's NBC Sports have said they're calling it quits, and they're going to be putting all their main shows to USA Network. So that means it's stuff like, I think it's NHL, so it's ice hockey, and NASCAR will be going to USA Network. How that'll affect NXT, because I doubt it'll affect Raw, but how it'll affect NXT is something that will be interesting to find out. But for us, we're not going to talk about NXT. We are here to talk about Bing! Yay! We've got the gallery up. The gallery is up. Now, I have tested this week. I am certain that this gallery is going to work. Oh, get too close to the mic there. I've got it set up very, very fine today. I am positive that this is going to work today. So, a drum roll, please, for anyone watching. Let's get a drum roll. We'll give it a test, first of all. Will it work? Oh, and it did work, actually. Yay, it did work. And it moved my document, which I did not want it to do. There's always something here on the Ganzobomb Wrestling Club podcast, like me shouting into my microphone and making it all go blurry. I do apologise. Of course, if you're watching this now or in the future, please share it out. If you watch it, if you like something I say, please share it, because, like, I'm just a guy who's trying to make it in the world of media. I've got no backing or nothing like that. It's just me. I thought my speakers was on. One moment. I am surprised we have not got a mad amount of feedback yet. That'll make things better. Oh, there we go. That's why it was blaring. It's because there was feedback. Now, I don't know why I didn't hear that. It just may be because I've got everything set up so perfectly that it didn't get any feedback. Shrug emoji. I don't know. But I digress. We have got images. The gallery is up. For some reason, it's moving my documents. It's moving my notes. But I'm gonna roll with this. I'm gonna roll with this, and we're gonna do it. This is the Ganzobomb Wrestling podcast, and this is just how we do things. So, match 1 on this week's AEW. It was -1's birthday celebration match. We had the Dark Order, which was Colt Cabana, Silver and Reynolds versus Hangman Adam Page, versus the Hybrid 2, that's Jack Evans and Angelico, and the Chaos Project, that is Luther and Serpentico. So the show opened with a mini segment, which was really cool, and this mini segment led into the first match. As I said, it was -1's birthday celebration. It was all really cool, as you can see in the image there. The Dark Order came out. Number 10 had -1 on his shoulders, and I mean, it looks like -1 is the new spiritual boss of the Dark Order, and you know, I'd be quite happy with that. I think it would be quite funny that the lead, like, if they actually did this in a storyline, I would be with this, because I think they could pull this off, that the leader of the Dark Order is Brody Lee's son, Brody Jr., who has been brought up and indoctrinated into being the leader of the Dark Order by his late father. I think this could work. There's some people out there that seem to not like fun in wrestling. They seem to think that wrestling can't be fun, and this is just fun, you know. It's wrestling, like the bumps are real and stuff, but like, this is a story, right? And I think that this could tell quite a funny story. It's quite funny. It's heart wrenching. I mean, there's a certain degree of this which hits us all on our heartstrings because we know what that little kid's been through in the last month, and I think it's brilliant that they're doing such a nice thing for -1. But at the same time, I think this could play well into the not so much the day-to-day stories and playing into angles, but I mean the lore, like playing into the lore and the long-term storytelling of like AEW. In the lore, it's like, yeah, sure, Uno seems to be like he's like the supervisor. He's not the boss. He's the supervisor of the Dark Order. But there's always going to be a bigger boss. I mean, it was the Exalted One. Now that the Exalted One's passed, clearly it's been passed to the Exalted One's son, who is the new Exalted One. I'm going on a bit of an Exalted One tangent here, but I like it. So as you can see in the image there, when they came out, they also had a huge birthday cake. It was gigantic. Silver got on the mic, and he's great. I think Silver's great. He's like, did the whole Johnny Hungy, it's somebody's birthday. And he got everyone in the arena to sing happy birthday to Brody Jr., which was great. I loved it. Luther and Serpentico came out to shit on the party and be dicks to Brody because they don't like Brody Lee Jr. and they are a pair of absolute meanies. There we go. Look at it, it's working. It's working. Chaos Project came out. Luther cut a promo on -1 because -1 said he looked funny on Dark this last week or the week before. I don't know. I didn't see it. I need to watch it. I need to catch up with Dark. I normally wait and watch Dark monthly, which I know sounds stupid, but I mean, I see Dark as just an enjoyable wrestling show. I don't think it's really heavily tied into the stories, although I could be wrong with that. So I tend to watch it in a big block in a month. It takes a whole day, but it's fun, and it gives me something to do on a random Sunday afternoon, where I've got nothing to do. But yeah, this is where the setup for this match happened. But yeah, Brody Jr., said that Luther looked stupid. And Luther has came out to protest. He shouts out at the kid, I have a symmetrical face. I mean, I think he looks weird too. It's 2021. Anyone that looks like Luther in 2021 should be possibly medicated. You know? I mean, it works in wrestling, but imagine you seeing him walking down the street to the shop. You would run the other way. If you seen someone like Luther in the street, you wouldn't be going near him, would you? Hell. So anyway, the Dark Order jump in and they basically jump the Chaos Project. The Hybrid 2 come out, and now they all battle their way to the ring. It was at this point, when the melee reached the ring, that Hangman made his appearance. So everyone's fighting in the ring, and of course, it's just the perfect, it's like the Stone Cold spot. The music hits, and Hangman comes running out last of everyone, and he just did this huge jump onto all the heels. It was great. The match quickly gets going. Reynolds and Silver and the Hybrid 2 are in the ring. They get the match going, but the heels, they quickly get the advantage. The match keeps going on until Hangman tags in, and he just takes everyone out with ease. People were flying around in and out of the ring. But amongst the chaos, and I think this is important here, Hangman looked strong as hell. Like, I think the key here is that Hangman looks strong 100% of the time when he's in the ring, but outside of the ring, mentally his head is not in the game as much as his action is in the ring. I think this is an important story element of Hangman. This has been running through the entire AEW since it started, and it's still running here. I mean, you could say that this all started when Hangman lost to Jericho at All In at the very first pay-per-view, and it's all been down there from there. Just since he lost that, he lost his confidence, and it's been steadily going there. But I digress. Hangman, Silver, and Reynolds, they hit this really cool triple team German. Well, actually, no, sorry. This is not the really cool spot. They hit a really funny triple team German suplex. It looked like the person in the middle between Hangman and Silver, I think it was Reynolds, got crushed. It didn't look funny. It looked messy, but it was funny. Luther, at one point, tried to slam Colt Cabana into the cake on the stage, but -1 managed to distract Luther with a kendo stick. This allowed Colt Cabana to reverse the move, and he face planted Luther into the cake. This was expected from the very start of the episode. Whenever you see a big cake on a table in wrestling, someone's head is going in that cake. And if someone's head doesn't go in that cake, there's something wrong. Someone's not thinking straight. Heads go in cakes. That's like wrestling 101. Like the ref doesn't see things. This is just a thing. This is a thing. People need to get used to it. It was necessary. It was needed. It was awesome. The finish came after the cake spot. Someone, I didn't see who it was. I really should have went back and checked. Got hit with the Silver and Reynolds double team finish sequence. Now, I don't know if this sequence has a name, but it's freaking awesome. It's just like move, 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 move. And except this time, instead of going for the pin, after the last move, Hangman comes flipping in, does the buckshot lariat, gets the pin. It was a great finishing sequence, I thought anyway. I'm a fan of Silver and Reynolds as a tag team anyway. I think they're really good. And that, I'm actually going to send them a message, asking them if it's got a name, because I think if it doesn't have a name, it should have a name. The scintillating sequence, I don't know, that's a shit name. It was good. Post-match, there's the dog. Everyone celebrated the win, except Hangman. He looked, like, Hangman looked just racked with emotion. Do we have an emotion face? No, we don't. We don't have the close-up, but he looked racked with emotion. Everyone else is happy. As soon as the match, just after the match finishes, -1 cut a promo on Serpentico. Things happened, and then the kid shouts, "It was my birthday was 3 days ago, idiots." And then he chucked a bundle of papers in Serpentico's face, which, again, it's awesome. That'll never get old. That was one of the funniest Brody spots that there was at the moment, was the papers getting smacked in someone's face. This was good. It'll never get old. Like I say, I would be glad. I think it would be cool if Brody -1 was the Dark Order's spiritual leader, just so he could come out every so often and hit bad guys with papers in the face, because it never gets ruined. It's brilliant. I like it. In the ring, Silver got down on one knee and he asked Hangman if he was going to join the Dark Order. But Hangman says no. He just said he couldn't do it. Now, this is what I expect. This is what we were talking about last week with the Hangman story. I didn't think he was going to join them, because why would he join? If he was to join the Dark Order just now, it'd be like a what's it called? A rebound relationship. He's just doing it. He's got a really bad experience lately with groups, and I think this is going to play in the future down the line. I think it's probably going to come back where Hangman's going to be taken back into a side of the Elite, maybe with the Bucks. I can't see him going on the Kenny Omega side, but I can see him siding with the Bucks. Again, is it a group? Is it not a group? I don't know. Hangman just says that he's done the group thing before. It never ends well, so he can't join them. And he bails, he leaves, and he exits through the heel side, not through the face side, even though it all goes to the same place. Kayfabe. Silver, poor lad, he's just left in the ring. The guy looks devastated. Hangman did not join the Dark Order. He had fun. Now, he said he had fun over the last few weeks, but he felt that they'd put him in this position where he had to say no. Fair enough. Hangman stories. This is a long story arc. As I said, it's been going since the first pay-per-view. It looks like it's going to keep going for whoever knows how long. I think it's a case of just sit back watching it and just enjoy it, you know what I mean? It's very rarely you get this sort of really long-term storytelling in modern wrestling, especially if WWE's all you've watched your life, so you've never seen booking this long. But it does work, and it is really good sometimes, and it will pay off somewhere down the line. So the next segment, we had a very quick promo with Jericho and MJF. Basically, MJF thinks the Inner Circle is in danger, as tonight's main event is making them all fight each other. Jericho thinks everything will be okay. Tonight's main event, of course, is the Inner Circle Triple Threat Tag War, with the winning team becoming the official team of the Inner Circle. So, it's just a promo, isn't it? Next up, we had an interview segment. So, I mean, this is something AEW does, and I quite like it. It's actually really helpful for note taking. They'll have a big match at the start, then they'll go promo, interview, promo, match, promo, match, end. It works. I like it. But yeah, this one, it was just Sting and Darby. So it started with Tony Schiavone in the ring. He said that Sting wanted to come out, and that Darby's going to come out too. So the snow falls. Sting comes out, and then Darby comes out. Sting goes on to congratulate Darby about his win, about defending his TNT championship for the first time, which is cool. And he talks up the win. He's just fawning over him. He's just showing that they're bros, isn't it? He likes him. Sting wants to be Darby's pal, and Darby wants to be Sting's pal. He says they're alike. I mean, are they alike because he's got black and white face paint, or is there something more to this that I don't see? I don't know. I maybe just don't understand this nuance of the character. But before they could go any further, Taz could be heard shouting over the mic from backstage. It's Taz. Taz is pissed at Sting coming to interfere last week to help Darby. Of course, Darby was towards the end of the match. Ricky Starks tried to interfere in the match which is when Sting came down with a bat and chased him off, beat him up with a baseball bat, which annoyed Sting. This is unfair. This annoys Taz. This is unfair in Taz's eyes. I mean, fair enough. If you want to see it that way, that's how bad guys work. You guys fight street, he shouted. I thought it was great. Taz is great. His little bits like this in his promos are some of the best talking on wrestling at the moment, in my opinion. Team Taz challenges Darby and Sting to a street fight. Be careful what you wish for, Darby tells Taz. And that was cool. That was the end of the segment on Dynamite. Now, after Dynamite, this match was made official for this year's Revolution pay-per-view in February. So it now seems that Sting will be returning to action in the ring. We don't know if this is going to be a cinematic match, which most people are hoping it is that. I kind of hope that too. I think that would be really good to see. Or if it'll be an actual in-ring match. Remembering, if it's an in-ring match, Sting won't... It's probably not the best idea for Sting to be in an in-ring match live in front of people because he's got back injuries and stuff like that. It could be very dangerous for his health. So I could see this going the way of a pre-recorded street fight. The same way now, people might be like, pre-recorded street fight. But cast your mind back to last year. The Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz match. That was a pre-recorded street fight, and that got a 5-star rating off Meltzer. That match was freaking brilliant. And if they can do a match like this between Team Taz, Darby and Sting, what's not to love about this? You just got to remember, this is not WWE. And most likely they will try and do a good job of this, and they will not try and just job out the legends or do something stupid like that. So I'm looking forward to this. I think this could be a damn good match. Following the match, we got the announcement that Beach Break is in 2 weeks' time. Finally, we will get the wedding of Kip and Penelope that this has been mentioned since day one of Miro being in the company. So what's that, about 3 months now? So it's been a long time coming, but we're finally getting to the wedding. Now, we have not had the bachelor party yet. There's supposed to be a bachelor party before a wedding, so I mean, are we going to see the bachelor party next week? Or is the bachelor party going to be shown on Beach Break before the wedding? Or here, they're going to have the bachelor party on Beach Break. Sounds a bit strange. I wouldn't do that, but maybe they've just forgot it. Maybe they've just dropped the whole need for the bachelor party. I don't know. Call me crazy. I want to see the bachelor party. They had, what's his name? Billy Mays says he was going to organise stuff. We need payback. We need to be rewarded. This needs I need closure. We need closure in this. Also, on next week's show on Beach Break, we will get Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, which it should be a decent enough match. Next up, we had, now I've just titled this the Elite Meeting, because it was a meeting. Now, Nick and Jack had been asked to go for a meeting at Kenny's house. They knock on the door, and a work-dressed and non-goofy Knack. I'm just going to say Knack, because I can't remember how to say the word. Anyway, Knack answered the door, and he's dressed like what you would expect to see Jerry Lynn dressed in backstage. He's got the chinos on, the black polo shirt. He looks very professional. There's no baby oil. There's no goofiness. There's no jokes. It's just Knack in his work clothes. He answers the door, and he took the Bucks to a waiting area. Now, in the waiting area, there is a hilarious painting of, you can just barely see Kenny peeking over Matt's shoulder there. It's just a hilarious painting of Kenny and Don Callis But it's like an oil painting, but what they've done is they've took like the bodies of two like Chippendale male strippers, like half dressed, zip open, showing a bit of pube, and they've took that and they've put Kenny Omega and Don Callis's head on that, then oil painted it. It is hilarious. I thought it was brilliant. It is probably funnier and better, more well done than the famous Y2J and Kevin Owens painting, when you did that on the friendship ceremony. I think this is probably a funnier painting, but art is art. It is subjective. I'm willing to be wrong on this one. So Don Callis appears. The Bucks first of all ask what the painting's about, and Callis is just like, it's a birthday gift. The Bucks are like, his birthday's in October, and he's like, hey, I'm a good friend. We don't need to have a birthday to give people a gift, do we? And it goes on like that. It's clear that Callis is trying to control Kenny's life, because what he does here is he tells the Bucks that Kenny's a busy person. He's just kind of needing, and he needs the Bucks out of his life. He's trying to move on with his life. And Dawn then tries to pay the Bucks off to leave Kenny alone. She's like, what? Like, what are you doing, Don Callis? And they're like, what? So he gives them both a check, and first of all, the Bucks are like, what the hell? What? This is just insulting. I mean, not only are you trying to like tell us to not be friends with our best friend, but you give us a check that we made more last week. And he gives them another check, and then hilarious, they're like, dude, we worked for the company on these checks. We know they're not worth anything. Of course, the company being Impact, which is quite funny, a bit of an inside joke. And it just keeps going, and the Bucks get pretty offended. Now, before things got heated, and this is important for this little bit, Marvez was on the scene with the Bucks for some reason. I've got no idea why. Marvez's gimmick for this episode just seemed to be that he was just appearing out of nowhere with a microphone to do interview segments. Like, at Kenny's house, for instance, he just appears. Like, okay. Regardless, Don ejected Marvez. He sent Marvez to the dungeon, a wrestling room in the basement. Told him not to be scared. There was a cameraman obviously there with the Bucks as well. What Callis done is he took the mic from the cameraman, and then he told the cameraman to go away downstairs. Now, he took the cameraman and he sat it in the corner of the room. So, and this is where we got to see Callis saying all this stuff to the Bucks and all that. So, it's been shot as if the cameraman's not there, and this is found footage. So, it's like found footage we weren't supposed to see, right? So, after the bit where Callis tries to pay the Bucks off and everyone gets angry, something happens. They start getting really heated, but the camera kind of goes dark. You can't see what's happening. And this is what this shot here is. This shot here is from the camera that's not supposed to be on, if you get me. So we don't know who's, like, for instance, this camera is not meant to be on. So the Bucks don't know they're being recorded here, right? Or that's what we're being told. Don Callis knows he's recording things here because he's the one that specifically took the camera off them and put them down there. So we've got Don Callis kind of engineering this found footage situation, which is interesting in itself. It just kind of shows you, it's a good way to show how much Don Callis is trying to twist reality around Kenny and just twist reality around everything. But regardless, the Bucks start getting angry, and the picture just goes dark for some reason now, and you hear what sounds like the Bucks attacking Don Callis. Now we've got no way of knowing who, if anyone, was attacked or what happens here because it goes dark. Not only that, we have to remember here that this what we're seeing above. This is all engineered by Don Callis. So with this bit being engineered by Don Callis and him having control of this camera, he's the one that engineered, or did he, the camera going dark? Did he engineer the sound that made him sound like him getting beaten up? We don't know. We don't know if the Bucks just left here. We know that they take their jacket off and they're getting heated, but we don't actually know what happens. This was done brilliantly. It's just perfect for setting up stories and for keeping things going on. I mean, did the Bucks hit Callis or is something else afoot? We just have to wait and see. Brilliant. I loved it. Now, let's go. Next up, we had Cody versus Pretty Peter Avalon. Now, during the week, Cody tweeted that this match would take no more than a minute, and in my opinion, this is exactly what I expected. It had to be a squash. It had to be it had squash written all over it. What we got was actually an okay match. It was, but it was not a squash, and it probably was not the match that was needed for this segment. But hey, it wasn't a bad match by any stretch, and it was still mildly entertaining. So I'm not going to hate on this match because my expectations of what wrestling should be are different to what this match was, as ironic as that may seem for a reviewer. Now, as soon as the match started, Cody hit Avalon with Crossroads, and it looked like it was going to be a couple of second match. But as soon as he hit the Crossroads, Jade Cargill's music appears, starts playing, and she appears on the stage to distract Cody. Avalon takes advantage of this and hits a low blow on Cody. And this is what started the most surprising bit of the match, Avalon getting heat on Cody. Now, I thought this might last for 30 seconds before Cody just cuts him off, gets back, hits the win, gets a comeback, gets a win. Quick, done, couple of minutes, 3-minute match, you know? But no, it didn't. Avalon actually got quite a lot of heat on Cody, and I did not expect this. This match kind of went on. It went about 10 minutes. I think probably went a bit too long, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, I don't have a problem with people getting heat on any face. That is the meat and two wrestling of what that is the meat of two veg of wrestling. That's what it's all about. It is about good people beating up bad people and getting sympathy from the good people. That's how it works. That's how it rolls along. But there is a limit to how much heat someone at the bottom of the pecking order should be getting against someone at the top of their pecking order. The finish to the match came after, I would say it was an elongated. It went too long, figure 4 battle. It was a bit strange how the finish came. Basically, Cody had Avalon in the figure 4 and he wasn't tapping out, which I think he should have tapped out. He's quite low in the pecking order, but we're going to get to that. Now, whilst in the figure 4, Avalon reached over and managed to slap Cody. Then when Cody went to slap him back, Avalon tapped. It was a bit weird for me. It's not my cup of tea. I love a bit of silly in wrestling, but silly needs to make sense to a small degree, and it made no sense that Avalon went to slap him whilst in the figure 4, which would have been quite sore, only for him to tap as soon as I think it was a bit silly. Now, there's been reports online, Wrestling Observer, various other news sources, that have said that Cody wanted to have a long match with Avalon because they're friends, and it's just something that he's wanted to do. Now, I think it may be, I don't have a problem with this, but I think it might be too early in Avalon's position in this new character that he's got to get long matches against someone at Cody's level, at least, on Dynamite. Now, I can see how this will have gave Avalon the rub. Now, people can comment that, oh, he shouldn't have been on that, but the fact that he's now been on that and had a longish match with Cody on TV will give him the rub. He now has been on Dynamite in a long match. He now could get a break into the lower mid-card areas from this match. I mean, we've got to remember that Avalon's been at the bottom of the pile for pretty much the whole first year of AEW's existence, and there's a few other people that have been like the jobbers that were there from the start. Now, AEW has got a lot of people coming through it. They've got a lot of youngsters coming through it, so it only makes sense that you can't stay a jobber forever. There's always going to be new people at the bottom of the pile, so you need to start moving people around and try and keep them with something to do. So this could be what it was with Avalon, and I think that is needed to a degree. So there's a balance to be found here between how much are you going to push and give them the rub over people at the top of the pecking order, between how do you get them off the bottom. So the one criticism I have heard on this match, and I actually totally agree with, is the length of it. I don't think it needed to be longer than 5 minutes. I say maybe 3 minutes. It would have been fine. Cody probably should have beaten fast. But all that said, and like what I was just saying, when you've got a range of new fresh-faced jobbers coming in all the time, it's probably good to start getting shine on the people that have been on the bottom for a year, like Avalon. And as long as the match was good, do we really lose out on anything? Do we? I don't think we do. I thought the match was alright. Let's get to the pictures. There's Cargill doing her interviewing. There's the figure 4. Oh, Too far. Too far. See? Getting used to this new system, but the system works. That is the important bit. So next up, we have another backstage interview. Now, 1 second. I need to moisten the old throatola. Yeah. The next segment, we were backstage and we were with Tully and the FTR. But they were interrupted by the Jurassic Express, mainly Jungle Boy. So Jungle Boy Jack Perry tells the FTR that he could take on any of them one-on-one. I mean, that's all good, but they're tag teams. But still, it's cool. This leads to a match next week between Dax Harwood and Jungle Boy, with Luchasaurus saying he will be on at ringside to stop any interference. I mean, he'll obviously have Marco with him as well, so that's cool. JR said it best about this segment and this match being set up. This will probably be the match of the night next week. And you know what? I agree to it. I kind of agree. Although, one thing I did want to notice here is, I think I think this is like a wrestling thing. This is not a link to like this angle or those two at all. But it's funny that in here we've got someone saying, I could take any of you on one-on-one. I mean, is that saying that he's the stronger person of the Jurassic Express team? That the other people are the weak links? There's other stuff to see in this, and it's like, obviously, if FTR are the best tag team and they can beat everyone and they've beat those guys all the time, to me that says that one-on-one they should be able to beat the Jurassic Express regardless of who's facing who. They've done it multiple times now. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be a great match. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry is freaking awesome. The FTR are freaking... I mean, the FTR are awesome. Now, I've never been the biggest FTR fan, and some people will hate that, but that's just what life is. You can't all like the same things. That said, I do like their style, and the way they've been working in AEW, I do like. They're very stiff. They're very... very fast, they're very stiff, they're very good. So it will be interesting. I do agree that match will be bloody awesome. Next up, look at that face. That's a face only a mother could love. I joke, man. It's Moxley. He's awesome. This is his first match back since losing the AEW World Championship. And we got John Moxley versus someone I've never seen before, Nick Comoroto. Now, I believe he's had a few matches on Dark, and this is the first time he's been on Dynamite. My goodness, this guy looks awesome. He is huge. He is probably bigger than Moxley. I believe he's a student from the QT school. Now, they actually did say it on air that he's QT and Dustin are his trainers. This guy looks perfectly built for wrestling. It's just more. Get him on TV ASAP. He kind of reminds me of Barbarian, you know? It's like a cross between Barbarian and, what's he called? Oh, the mean guy that was in Japan, the American guy. We'll get back to that. He just looks perfect for wrestling, you know? Really cool. So Mox starts the match by headbutting Comoroto, which I loved. As you can see there, it was a brilliant way. No lock-up, no punches, no pacing about. Take that. It's like, yes, that's what I am all about. More headbutts, please. Just safe ones. So yeah, he headbutts Comoroto, then he starts hitting him with chops and clotheslines. But Comoroto, I'm going to say Comoroto, that's just the way I'm going to say the name. He used his strength, and instead of cutting Moxley off to get some heat on him with like a elbow or a punch or a clothesline, he used his strength to cut Moxley off with a British Bulldog like power slam, which I thought was great. It's rarely you see fiery faces or like a shine. Like the start of a wrestling match is normally what you've called like a shine, you know what I mean? Your good guys trying to look good by running about, hitting loads of flashy moves, looking cool, and then you've got the cut off that takes you into the heat where the meanie will sit and beat the good guy up. Normally your cut off is something sharp, like a big back elbow out of nowhere, or they'll cheat or something, or they'll throw them out of the ring, or something to give a clear separation between, look at the good guy being flashy, and hey, here we go, here's the guy away to get methodical and rough. So yeah, it was good to see him using a power slam to cut Moxley off and lead into the heat. Comoroto got quite a lot of heat on Moxley, which again, Moxley could have easily just said, I am only wrestling for 2 minutes. We're going in. I'm going to beat this guy up. I'm going to give him a finish and I'm getting the fuck out of there. But no, he gave him a lot. And to be honest, it's believable with a guy like Comoroto. It's totally believable that he would go toe-to-toe with Moxley and survive 10 minutes. Now, I have seen people being taken to WWE that are this sort of size and just being jobbed out. No story time, no nothing. And that blows my mind. So I really like what Impact are doing. I really like what AEW are doing here with Comoroto. And I like that Moxley gave him so much as well. And I mean, it's quite funny that we're saying this. I mean, it's juxtaposed to the match we just talked about, where we had someone who has been on the bottom of the pecking order for a year. And it's like not that believable. I mean, you could say if Avalon was a foot higher and weighed another 50 pounds, it would be totally believable. It would be absolutely believable. But Avalon, bless his cotton socks, he's quite short and he's quite small. Bless him. And I think this is what makes the difference between Cody versus Peter Avalon and Moxley versus Comoroto. So I mean, he got loads of sweet heat on Moxley. He used his strength to throw him about a bit, makes himself just look like an all-round brute. What is there not to like about this? He hit this awesome, really cool neck breaker onto the knee move on Moxley. It looked brutal. No slip-ups, nothing to criticise here. Nothing but upside is what I wrote. So in the end, Mox managed to fight back. He raked at Comoroto's eyes. Good old Moxley's like Hulk Hogan. He's a good guy that does bad guy moves. If you don't believe me, go watch a Hulk Hogan match. Good guy, bad guy moves. It works sometimes. And it works for Moxley. Yeah, he raked at Comoroto's eyes. And then he showed some of that glorious, what I would call Moxley fighting spirit. You know, he's just like, yeah. I think Moxley's great. He's definitely one of my favourites. Since leaving WWE, I mean, he was really good in WWE. I was actually a fan of Moxley before WWE. I used to watch him like a lot in CZW. On the computer, I've got it's a death match that he did. He's quite famous for doing. It was in CZW. It's about a guy called Brain Damage who sadly passed away since then. But in the match, he uses one of those like automatic turkey cutter things. So it's like an automatic knife. So it's like a thing you hold in your hand. It's got two knives. And he gets it on his head, and it just, the way they set it all up, the thing didn't cut Moxley's head. It's wrestling. It's gimmicked. But he was so covered in blood already and sweat that as soon as the thing touched his head, it just goes flying everywhere. And it looks savage. It looks so brutal. But it's such a good spot. And like, I digress because I'm getting carried away in my fanboyish love of Moxley. I've just been a fan of him so long. I think WWE, he still managed to be good in it, but it was just not Moxley that people knew and loved. But he's back now, and this is what I mean by he shows that Moxley fighting spirit. I think that he's taken bits from the Japanese style and how he works in Japan, and he's smashed it up with this style that he's got now. It is bloody brilliant. So Mox started trying to take Comoroto down back into the match with some big lariats and stuff, big moves. But Comoroto just no-sold it. So instead, Mox used his jiu-jitsu. Another thing I love, he's not a one-dimensional character. He jumped round behind Comoroto, jumped on his back, put him in a rear naked, choked him out for the win. It was a perfect win. No one looked weak. Comoroto looked brilliant in this match. I mean, he got choked out by Moxley, but he got choked out by John fucking Moxley. Everyone should be getting choked out by Moxley. He's one of the best in the world. Great. For a first match on national TV, like on Dynamite for Comoroto, you couldn't do any better here. He looked great, both in style and in substance. I hope we see more of him. Just that he starts moving to the winning side on AEW, which is something they're actually good at doing. They will take someone in, they'll lose for the first couple of matches, but they will then start winning. Moxley is amazing. after the match, he cut a promo. He basically challenged everyone, any company, any person. All they have to do is ask, just come and fight him. Who's going to challenge Moxley next? I am interested to see. I mean, we've still got there's still a rematch between him and Kenny going to happen at some point. So there's a lot being set up here. A lot to talk about. Moxley is bloody amazing. He's a gift to wrestling that keeps on giving and giving and giving. I just wanted to say that. Moving along to our next segment. Oh, look at that. That was him cutting the promo to the people in Nashville, aka Impact, Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers. We then went into a Eddie Kingston family promo. I mean, I don't know, are they the family, Eddie Kingston family? I'm calling them the Eddie Kingston family. We find out here that next week we will finally get the Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer match that has been teased since the last AEW pay-per-view. So that's months and months and months ago. This is, again, more long-term storytelling. I love it. They've set something up a long time ago, and then when they needed a match to fill something in, that they need something with a bit of story behind it, they can pull it out. And this is exactly what they've done here. It's not rocket science, and they're just doing it really well. So Eddie's cutting one of his usual really good promos. For some reason, and I have no idea how they did this, but look at the pack. Look at Butcher. For some reason, he looked like a foot shorter than usual. And, I mean, he just looked small. How did they do that? Now, this might just be one of those things where people look bigger on TV, and it might just be that Eddie Kingston is actually a lot taller than the Butcher. If so, it blows my mind. It's like when I first met Colt Cabana. I've met him a few times in a backstage scenario. I don't know him in any way. He doesn't know me. He wouldn't know me. So we'll just get that out of the way. But I have met him a few times in backstage wrestling situations. And before I met Colt in person, I was sure he was like 6'5". I was positive he would be, because I'm 5'11", just 6 foot on a good day. I thought he would be much taller than me. I thought Colt Cabana would be about 6'5". Then I met him, and it turns out he's just exactly the same height as me, maybe an inch shorter. I was like, what? So it's always interested me how tall people actually are in real life compared to me as they are on TV. And the Butcher, I always had him down as a really tall guy, but it made him look really small, and it just blew my mind. I mean, another side thought here on the Butcher. And the Blade to a degree. I love that the Butcher and the Blade have like 3 or 4 different looks. And I'm not talking just different coloured gear, different pattern gear, but they have different looks. Like, for instance, when they first came in, we had the Butcher and Blade S&M look. You know, they were all wearing leather. Blade had the weird gimpy mask sort of thing on, and they looked really rough, leathery brutes. Then we've got the we're actually a butcher, I call it the we are actually butchers and we are at work gimmick, where they wear like overalls and they look like they're just at work and they've came on their break to fight a wrestling match, then they're going to go back in. Got aprons and stuff like that. Then we've got this, like, today's look. It's the weird, I would say, the weird meta out of gimmick look, gang culture look, with the bandanas and stuff like that on. No one else does this. Why? There's no reason why no one else can do this with looks and stuff. I mean, obviously it's good for people to have a look, but I mean, no one else does this. I would love to see it. We need more looks in wrestling, you know? Like, why don't we get Mox in a smoking jacket, you know? We've seen the picture of Mox smoking a fag after a match. Why don't we get Mox in a smoking jacket with a pipe? Or how about Shida in a Burgess jacket and some waterproof boots? You know, her rambling look, ready to take on Ben Nevis. Why not? Or maybe even Cody in his I run 20 kilometers for breakfast look, you know, with like a vest and a pair of those really little running shorts. Sweatband. Looks. Let's have more looks in wrestling. Okay, that was a bit of a tangent. So anyway, Lance Archer and Jake explodes into this interview. Lance, of course, shouts, "Everyone dies." Now, Archer has grown on me. When he first came into AEW, and even when he first started in like New Japan, I was never a big fan. Nothing against his work. I was just never a big fan. I'm not a big fan of big guys that just throw people about. But Archer has grown on me. I really like his character. I think him as a person's grown on me. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it is growing on me. He comes in and he shouts out, "Everyone dies." And I was like, "Yeah, everyone dies." And then he kind of just walks off. But then, like, Jake starts getting into it with Eddie, which is great. At one point, Jake's just fuming, started getting in Eddie's face, and he's like squaring up to him, calls him a chicken shit. It's like great. It's almost flipped round to where Archer's got to drag Jake away because Jake's the one causing trouble. It was a great little interview segment. I thought it was great. I found way too much amusement in this little segment than I should have done for what it was. But yeah, mainly the Butcher and the Blades looks. I love this. I love that they've got looks. I mean, what next? Are we going to get Spaceman, Butcher and Blade? That would be good. So next up, we had another backstage segment because this is how we roll on AEW. Backstage, we see Don Callis on the phone, and Kenny enters the room, and it doesn't take long before Kenny notices that Don Callis has a black eye. Or does he? Now, this could just be shit face paint, but it could be real. This could be Don trying to twist how Kenny thinks things are happening, but it might be real. We just do not know yet. Kenny makes Don tell him who gave him the black eye. He's pretending that he doesn't want to. He's like, I don't want to cause trouble, you know. I don't want to cause trouble between you and the Bucks, you know. It's like, oh yeah, we've all been there. We've all seen this. He's a shit house, as my grandma would have called him. My late grandmother, she would have been like that Don Callis. He's a shit house. I agree. Kenny is now obviously pissed off that the Bucks have hurt his best friend. Of course, I mean, it's his family. His family best friend / evil controller. The Invisible Hand. He is the Invisible Hand. He is a very good character just now, actually. Don Callis, like back when he was in ECW, I think it was Cyrus. That was where I first seen him. And even then, both as a commentator and as a manager, I thought he was brilliant back then. And since then, he's always been one of my favourite managers in wrestling. I think it's pretty shit that he kind of wasn't used for so long. But I really like that he is being used now because he is fucking really good, and he is probably as smart as he says he is. We then get to our main sorry. Like I was saying earlier, Marvez keeps just appearing, and he did it in this segment as well. Kenny is trying to get the information from Don Callis, and Marvez just appears from nowhere with a camera. Are you saying that the Bucks? Blah, 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 blah. He's like, Don Callis is just like, where the hell did you come from? Why are you doing this? Stop appearing from nowhere. Go away. It's like, yes. Why do more people not get told this in wrestling? Why do they take the pish from backstage announcers like him? Why? I've never really understood it. I thought this was a nice touch. Moving on to the next match. This was a really good match. It was Matt Sydal and Top Flight versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. Now, when I seen the entrance of Sydal and Top Flight coming out together, I was just like, yes, fuck yes, this is a match made in heaven. They are perfect for each other. Look-wise, style-wise, and from the context of Sydal taking the youngsters under his wing, I just think this works really, really well. And it already looks like, without even trying, effortlessly, it looks like a good package. So let's hope they become a trio. So through the week, Private Party they were on Impact, and they became the Impact Wrestling Tag Team title contenders. So that was quite a story in itself. I mean, what happened was that basically Tony Khan and, well, let's backtrack. First of all, Matt Hardy invaded Impact with Private Party, and they got a match so they could have the chance of being the number one contenders for the Impact title. During that match, Tony Khan got Jerry Lynn to interfere, which allowed Private Party the win. Now Private Party are contenders, the top contenders for the Impact title at their next big event. I like it. So I've got here that Isaiah and Cassidy have new gear. It's really not that new. It's kind of just a different colour. I don't know why I wrote that. As expected now, into the match. This was hot, 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 hot to trot. If there was any more fire in this ring, the thing would have went up in flames. The faces, no, just everyone looked flashy in all the right ways. Seidel and Top Flight hit this really cool leapfrog into dropkick spot. And I mean, this was cool. Like the shot the guy off to the rope, shot him to the rope. It was like leapfrog, leapfrog, leapfrog. Then the guy bounced off the rope, and he was like leapfrog, leapfrog, and then he got a big drop kick. Now, the leapfrogs will do nothing. The leapfrogs do nothing physically. It just looks cool. They could have just did the big shoot off into the ropes and the drop kick. It would have been exactly the same. But man, it looked just cool. It looked cool as hell. Top Flight tried a few other flashy combos that all looked good. But I mean, their youth were showing a bit. Thankfully, Seidel and Hardy were in this match to keep everything on track and to keep the youngsters just on track, basically. That said, there was just so much flash. It was really good. About midway into the match, Hardy reminded the Private Party of his new orders to be more badass. This comes to pass at the end of the match. There was a little bit of what looked to be light confusion round about the middle of the match. It was nothing too obvious, but it did lead to Seidel taking a phantom bump, which I thought was quite funny. It's like Hardy hit him and he like took a bump, but then he like instantly took like a second bump for no reason, which was quite funny. It happens, but like I said, Hardy and Seidel were able to keep this thing going and keep the match on the rails. From my opinion, like from watching the match and seeing people communicate around the edge of the match, it looked like they were just calling it in the ring. And I think this might have been where some of the mild confusion came from. Because it did seem like they were calling things in the ring. At some points, you seen that it was Cassidy was speaking to people, going in, speaking to... And you seen things that was signalling that they might have just been doing that. But it was great. It was really cool. Party then ended up getting heat on Seidel. Again, there were just so many big moves and spots in this match. It was something I fully expected and was very happy to see. But don't expect me to write every move down, because that would be impossible. Private Party are they're becoming really good at being cocky, and I think they're going to really become really good heels. I think this suits them, it suits their style, and it's just going to work, especially with Hardy as their manager. For the finish, Top Flight we're going for like a double team superplex type spot, or I think it's a double team Spanish fly they do on Quinn, but Hardy pushed one of them off. Now then, Cassidy come up, as you can see in the image there, and he hit one of them with a chair. They're dirty and they know it. Now, first of all, Quinn was up on top. He looked down. He's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" And he like before giving it a. As you can see there, he gave it a big smile. Obviously, unlike him, he hasn't been drinking coffee all morning. He gives a big wry smile, and then he just turns around and he hits the shooting star press for the win. It was a really good shooting star press, but now on the shooting star press, Quinn needs to watch out because he went so high, it looked so good, but just before he landed, he caught his feet on the top turnbuckle. He gets away with it. He got away with it here, but there might be a situation where he doesn't get away with it. So I would imagine that since he's the person that did it and he's the person that did that, he will know what he done wrong and he'll know that he did that. That said, it was an awesome way to finish the match. Shooting star press, brilliant shooting star press. He gets so much height on it. I think the only high flying move in today's episode that was better than that was Same's senton, which is just fucking nuts. Post-match, the heels all celebrate, but Seidel and Top Flight come in, and they are pissed at Private Party for screwing them over. And this is when we get, I think, the full turn where, like, yeah, Private Party are heels now. They start beating up the good guys. Everyone gets twist of fates hit on them. Heels look strong. It is great. There's so much good to come from this. They all stand tall over the wimpy good guys. Private Party seems to have bought in to the new attitude, and it's paying off. And You know, we talked about this last year in the story. Maybe Hardy actually knows what he's doing here. You know, Hardy may have turned heel, and he's maybe acting like a bit of a carny and trying to get as much money as he can from those that are working with him. But at the same time, he's got a lot of experience, and Hardy maybe knows what he's doing here. I think it's all building good. The story's building well. The matches are good. There's nothing to talk about. It's great stuff. Quality match. I love where things are going with Private Party. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with Impact, because if they became the Impact Tag Champions, I think that would be just as cool. That would be great, actually. Next up, we have another Inner Circle promo. So MJF is still worried about what's going to happen tonight. The one comical bit of this segment was Ortiz, before MJF could speak, he asked MJF if he's going to be a bad news Barrett and give him some bad news. Hager seemed to like that. He started pissing himself laughing at it. I thought it was funny as well. MJF is trying to be cool with everyone. He's trying to give fist bumps to everyone. Everyone's cool with him except Sammy, who gets in his face. I can see where this is going. This has been building for months now. We're building a feud between MJF and Sammy, and the finish of the main event plays into this as well. Most of the Inner Circle seem to have bought into MJF, but Sammy, he is not buying into MJF's bullshit. So, next match. This was a good little match. This match is legit Layla Hirsch versus Penelope Ford. Now, this was originally scheduled to be Nyla versus Layla, but Nyla had to pull out due to being in contact with COVID-19, which is a shame because I was actually looking forward to see Layla versus Nyla. Although, with it being Nyla, I would have expected it to be a squash match, which I would not have liked actually, because I think Layla Hirsch should not be squashed. She needs to be protected, and they actually do this here. So that's quite cool. So instead of fighting Layla, of course she is fighting Penelope Ford. Penelope came out with Kip Miro and Miro's new butler, Charles, aka Chucky T, aka Chuck Taylor, aka the best wrestler in the world, blah 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 blah. I can't remember the chant. Chuck Taylor has the longest wrestling chant in the world, and he's on his own clap. Why? Because he's Chuck Taylor, that's why. That's just how he rolls. He's hilarious. Thankfully, for the flow of the show and for me taking notes, they booked the Miro showing off his new butler segment in with this segment, so we've got two segments in one, which is good. It plays into the match, but thankfully it doesn't ruin the match. That's cool. I would have preferred to have seen Layla Hirsch in a really good match, as she really rocks. I really like her. I think she's got a lot of upside. But at least we are getting to see her on Dynamite, and the way they booked the match, they kept her looking pretty strong. So the match went back and forth to start. Loads of ground-based defense and holds. Hirsch, obviously still pretty green, but she looks really, really good. And the fact that she's like a legit shooter, she's got a background in wrestling and ground-based sort of fighting, really helps with this. So she looks effortless when she does this sort of stuff, and it seems to get better every time she is on TV. We did see Kip and the new butler playing into this, because they forced Charles to trip Hirsch at one point to distract her. A distracted Hirsch was then hit with a boot in the head by Penelope, who then worked over Hirsch on the outside and then back in the ring. Now, my only comment on this is Penelope's work was just very flashy. Maybe a bit too flashy for her role in this match. It was during the heat segment that I realised that, yeah, it's a good match, but the roles are reversed. Like, ironically, I don't know if is that the right term, the good girl, Layla, was working a more methodical heel style, and the heel, in this case, the bad girl, Penelope, no pun intended, she was working like a good guy. I don't know if they meant to do that. I don't know if they maybe thought about this beforehand, but this is how it started coming off. Like, I noticed this. I don't know how much other people will have noticed this. It's like, your good guy should be the one that's doing the flashy moves, because that's the stuff that people want to clap. You don't want your bad guys doing things that people want to clap. Your bad guys are supposed to make people boo and to gain sympathy from your good guys. So, I don't know. I just thought that was a bit backwards. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but the match was good. So, yeah. For the finish, Hirsch had a bit of a mini Lesnar sort of Hulk up. You know, not like a Hulk Hogan Hulk up, but she shrugged off everything and did that. She hit a big knee in a German, but for some reason she didn't go to the pin. Instead, that annoyed me. Instead, she run to the top rope and hit a plancha to all the heels on the outside. You're in a wrestling match. The point of being in a wrestling match is to win the match. So if you've got someone down, you should be pinning them. Wrestling 101. You can't win a match if you're not pinning people. Remember, it's supposed to be a fight. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of that. Quite animated today. Yeah, so she hit up, and she hit the plancha to the heels. She then got back in the ring, but when she got back in the ring, Penelope hit her with another big kick to the head, and then Kip grabbed her leg, held her down, so Penelope could steal the pin off her, the cheating bastards. The match was good, like I said. It was a good match. But it did seem they were working opposite styles for the characters they were playing in this match. I.e. good guy, bad guy, the usual wrestling characters. It didn't hurt the match. And to be honest, it's that sort of criticism that I've got is the sort of thing that it's only people with that have trained or people with inside knowledge of wrestling who are even going to notice this sort of stuff and point it out. I mean, if you noticed this and pointed it out, let me know. Tell me, send me a tweet or whatever. Let me know what you think. But I think that on the whole, most fans wouldn't notice this. It's just not a big deal. But though some people will notice it and they'll see that, yeah, that maybe should be the other way around. More Layla Hirsch, please. Please, I want more Layla Hirsch. Maybe Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa or versus Serena Deeb. I think there'll be good matches. I mean, I don't know why. I've got a feeling I've maybe seen Hirsch versus one of them already. Regardless, I want to see, again, longer matches. Say, give them 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Let them go for it. Let's see what they can do. Post-match, Miro forced Charles to stare at his friend Orange Cassidy, who was sitting in the crowd watching this match. He made him look him in the eyes and say, Miro is his best friend now. Orange looked sad. Where's Orange? So there we go. Nice hold. There's the boot for the end. Held him down. There's Chuck. They made Chuck look Orange Cassidy in the eyes and say that Miro is his best friend now. Look at that. Orange crushed. He was crushed. Poor Orange. I mean, that's as far as deep as his selling of emotion goes, which I thought was great. He was just like, literally, he just took his glasses off. That was his selling of I'm sad, which is great. One other high spot of this match was Miro calling Orange Cassidy a George Michael wannabe. A little line, but I popped for it. The angle ends or grows another branch in 2 weeks at beach break. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens at the wedding in 2 weeks. Because Charles is only a butler until that wedding. After the wedding, he's free. Will the wedding happen? Is there going to be the bachelor party? I don't know. We've got loads of questions here. I would imagine that next week we're going to get a lot of stuff about the wedding. So that's pretty cool. We then go to another backstage segment before the main event, and Kenny and the Good Brothers are beating the shit out of Penta for no apparent reason other than being pissed off that Don Callis got beat up by the Young Bucks. Like, what the hell, guys? Why Penta? Like, why Penta? Kenny takes his boot off at one point and starts hitting Penta in the eye. I really don't understand why they're going for Penta. Now, one thing I noticed here, right? And I don't mean to be that guy who, just points out continuity errors, but if you zoom in on that guy's hands, you will quickly see there's no tattoos there. That is not Penta. Penta is covered in tattoos. Like, he's got tattoos on his hands. Whoever was in the Penta mask there doesn't have tattoos on their hand. It's not Penta. Now, I don't think that has anything to do with the storyline at all. I think they were trying to make it look like they're beating Penta up for some reason. But yeah, that's not Penta. I just wanted to say that. Continuity, guys. Continuity. If you're going to get someone pretending to be Penta, make them wear gloves. Make them cover up skin so you can't see there's no tattoos there. It's an important bit. Penta is covered in tattoos, and people who are fans of Penta will know this. Also, am I the only one that remembers the whole Rey Mysterio's eye incident from WWE last week? Are we really doing this? I mean, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if this is supposed to be like eye for an eye. They're trying to take his eye out because the Bucks like I could see this being an eye for an eye thing. The Bucks are being accused of blacking Don Callis's eye, so now they're trying to hurt someone else's eye. But it's like, what relation does that? Like, Penta is not in the Elite. Penta is not in the Young Bucks. Penta is Penta. He isn't even from the same country as the Young Bucks. So why are they just doing this to Penta? Why is Penta getting his eye worked over? I don't really understand that. But I guess it's going to make sense. But yeah, that wasn't Penta. And I had to mention that. So we get next week's lineup, which is, it looks like quite a good show next week, actually. We have Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Cody will finally respond to Shaq, which is about time. We'll see where that's going, if that's actually going to get anywhere. The Bucks and the Good Brothers will face the Dark Order, which will be Uno, Stu, Silver, and Reynolds. So it should be a good match. It will also be interesting to see if the Bucks and how the Bucks and Good Brothers work together when there's clearly a lot of tension between those just now. And which I would imagine this will be the main event for next week. Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. That should be amazing. They also told us about Beach Break in 2 weeks, so that's a big pay-per-view level sort of show coming up in 2 weeks' time. 2 stacked shows. This should be good. And I mean, with the ratings they got this week, clearly a lot of people watched this week, and they've watched this week and they've seen a lot of setup for next week. And it looks like next week will be a really good show. You've got Shaq mentioned on it. You've got some really big matches on it. And you've got some really big names on it. Bullet Club's all over it. Elite's all over it. FTR. It's going to be a stacked show. And that's not the big show. The big show's in 2 weeks. Yes, please. And this takes us into the main event of the evening. Now, this event, I get the feeling they were running out of time with this because it just ended. It just ended and they went off the air. I thought they went to a commercial. I was like, why are they going to a commercial so late? But no, it just ended. So this was the Inner Circle Tag Team Triple Threat match. The winners become the official tag team of the Inner Circle. It was MJF and Y2J versus Sammy and Hager versus the Proud and Powerful. That is Santana and Ortiz. For some reason, well, I say for some reason, they're doing one of those really poor mixes of 2 songs into one. MJF's music started playing at triple speed. I was like, what the fuck are they playing his music at triple speed for? It turns out they were just trying to poorly mix it into Judas for the entrance. It's like, no, just no. It's something like, I've got a history, I've DJ'd fucking thousands of hours. Just don't do that. It was terrible when you did it with the Big Show's music and Jericho's music. I thought this was a WWE only trope where they thought that, oh, let's just smash their 2 songs together and hope for the best. But no, it seems it's actually a Jericho thing. So I'd like to tell Jericho, stop mixing your music with stuff. Just play one song or the other. Use the MJF song. It's great. The bass drop in it's brilliant. But you've both got good songs. You don't need to mix them. Excalibur makes a great point. In storyline, right? Has Y2J been holding Santana and Ortiz back? And I was like, man, that's a really good point, actually. It is something I kind of thought about. Because, like Santana said last week, the Proud and the Powerful were brought into the Inner Circle to be the team. They were brought in to be the official tag team of the Inner Circle. But for the last 6 months, they've been on the back burner. They've really not done anything since their street fight with the Best Friends. And it seemed like with the Inner Circle tag team picture, there was more focus on less ex-gods as a team. That was like Sammy and Y2J, as opposed to anyone else. So I think if the Inner Circle starts to fall apart, or MJF starts to drag them apart, I think that the Proud and the Powerful will be one of the first teams to kind of get themselves out of the inner circle. So that's kind of just something I see coming. So the match, Jericho and Sami start. There was a loud tag team slut chant in the arena at Jericho. I thought this was quite funny. The match was sportsmanlike for around 30 seconds whilst Jericho worked a wrist lock, but then he slapped Sami in the face and it all broke down between Les Sex Gods. Is this the end of Les Sex Gods? Yes. I would say yes. Sami fired back and he got a decent amount of shine on Jericho and then done a springboard backflip just to show off and landed on his feet. It was very nice. Jericho was on the outside looking annoyed. Now, I'm not really a big fan of multi-team tag matches like this because I all like when it's 4 teams or 3 teams. I always feel like teams get left out. They either get left out or the match is just non-stop action and it's hard to actually tell a really good story in the match. It's just action, you know. And we got more of the action sort of match in this one. Everyone was coming in and out of the ring, at least no one was being left too much in the match. All the teams looked good. Proud and Powerful took control in the middle portion of the match, hit all their tag team moves, as did Sami and Hager early in the match. I really like Proud and Powerful as a team. I'd really like them to do more stuff. Maybe get them back into the tag team title picture. Like, why are they not fighting the Bucks? Like, there's some really good matches that need to be had there, but I guess that's me wanting it rushed. Let's just wait and see how it goes. They then went to a commercial. They came back, and when we came back, Sami and Jericho were down for a double down in the ring. Sami got a hot tag with Hager, who then run in, and he just destroyed everyone. Ran wild, just taking everyone out before focusing a beating on poor MJF. Hager then tagged in Sami to try and get the win. He hit a huge jumping stunner on MJF, but didn't get anywhere. It was at this point during the match that the announcers tell us that Tony Khan is ready to announce the Beach Break main event. Like, whoa. He's like, then they mention that even though Penta has been beat down earlier, the main event for Beach Break is going to be Pac and Moxley and Phoenix versus Omega and the Good Brothers. This will be freaking amazing. I mean, that is a main event worth, so we've got 2 weeks of really good matches coming up, and I can't see anything remotely bad about this. It's just good. Like, Pac, Moxley and Phoenix in a team. Fucking yes. I mean, we did see before that Moxley seems to have a bit of a camaraderie with Phoenix and Penta, so it would make sense that Pac and Moxley and Phoenix are all on the same sort of team grumpy, you know? It would be good. It's going to be really fucking good. Anyway, back to the match. The match rolled on. It was pretty good, but damn, it was a hyperactive match. As we get to the finish, Jericho got into the ring with his bat Floyd, only to be faced by Hager, who just stared at him, then kicked his fucking head off with zero effort. Yes, then MJF got in the ring, and he tries to get his the big ring on. He turns around, but Hager has just been looking at the whole time. He turns around to Hager, he's like, hey, tries to shake hands with him. Hager just takes him out. Like, great. Hager looked awesome in this match. Just brilliant. We need more Hager. Maybe Hager's just made to be a tag team person. Maybe this is what everyone's been missing the whole time. Get him in a tag team in that Roman Reigns hot tag role and just get him in, wreck everyone, get out. Everyone will be happy. Everyone will be happy. I mean, it was really good. At one point, Jericho went for a lion salt, but he had a rare miss and clocked himself right on the head, which was like, oh, Jericho, I hope you're all right. He just slipped. It's a rare miss for Jericho. He seemed to be all right. It looked like it sucked, and worst of all, it only got a 2 count. All that for a 2 count. Damn. After even more action and a code breaker and some more near falls, we eventually got back to Sami and MJF in the ring. Hager hit a Hager bomb, which I've not seen in ages, and it was cool. That it was just after that Sami hit one of the most brutal sentons I have seen in a long time on MJF for a 2 count. There's even more action because this is just this match. It was round about the last 3 minutes of the match where you could really tell they were rushing and they were running out of time because they were just running, trying to get through stuff. And they got to a point where Sami had MJF on his shoulders, face up for like a Burning Hammer sort of move. Sami went over with MJF on his shoulders. He went and he took Wardlow out with MJF's feet. Only then he went back to the middle of the ring, but MJF managed to wriggle out, rolled Sami up, and he grabbed him with the tights for the 1, 2, 3 and the cheap ass win. And it was at this point the show literally ran out of time and just went off air. I thought they were rolling into another commercial break, but no, it was the end. That's why there you can just see it popping over the top here. Well, you can't see it because it's too small. Yeah, the end. The titles played. We got the titles. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It just ended. Like I said, when I was watching, I thought, like, I watched it on TV. I thought it was going to a commercial break, but no, it was the end. So, I think it was an alright match. I think it suffered from a lack of time. And we could argue the fact that if Cody and Avalon had went 5 minutes less, they could have gave that extra 5 minutes here. We could have got a bit of a celebration after the match. We could have got a bit of story after the match, because I'm guessing that there should have... Naturally, it feels like we should have had a bit of post-match between MJF and Sami, you know? He just fucked him over. Like, clearly they would want to be angry and do something, but we never got any of that, so it's going to be a case of checking social media and finding that. But all in all, it was a good show. I mean, we all expected, I certainly expected it to be just a regular show, like I said at the top. I didn't think they were going to do anything big, and they really didn't. I thought they were just going to kind of play it safe. They were going to set up things for the next weeks, and they weren't going to throw their best things against the wall when they were potentially going up against a presidential inauguration, because that's just stupid. But then the ratings came out, and god damn were the ratings weird this week. I'll get that back up. I didn't realise how much I needed that light there. God damn it. So yeah, when the ratings came out this week, this was the shocker. The shocker. So, as I said, before we got to the ratings on Wednesday night, I expected AEW would do alright. I predicted they would do around, I think it was 750k, 790k. You know, kind of low number for AEW, but an alright number. I thought they would do around a 0.3 in the demo. It's the 1845 demo. My thought process behind this was that, right, the inauguration scaled back. It doesn't last the whole day. And we have been able to see in recent weeks that while AEW used to really suffer against big news stories, in the last few weeks, in the last few months, we have seen that AEW have started retaining viewers against news. And it seems that is exactly what happened this week, surprisingly. Now, I was blown away by the ratings. Now, I fought my case on Twitter. I actually messaged Dave Meltzer on it. I said, Dave, because like Meltzer and a lot of the more well-known experts, they've been telling people that this week doesn't matter ratings-wise. This doesn't matter. Throw them out. Don't pay attention to them. And I was like, Dave, I politely disagree with you on that. I think I told him what I thought and why. He just said, no, that's not going to happen. We get to last night when the ratings come out, and by God, it's very rarely that I get to gloat about being right. But yeah, I was right. But not only was I kind of right, I was fucking blown away, because the ratings were just so much higher than they should have been. Like, AEW, as you can see there, that's the highlighted one. They came in 33 overall on cable television. NXT, I think they were, where are they? We've got NXT here as well. They were number 67. Let's get that up. So yeah, AEW had a overall viewership, 854,000 viewers. I mean, that is what you would expect for a kind of good NXT show on a regular night. Not a big star, not a big match, but a good show. That was like 100,000 people more in the total than I expected, and it just blew me away. There's so much to take from that. I mean, my speculation that the inauguration and all the stuff ending really early would help AEW, I think it is just that. By the time we got to 9 o'clock on Wednesday night, everything to do with the inauguration had been over for like 6 hours. There was nothing happening. The inauguration was finished. There was nothing to see there. And it was just perfect. It was a perfect opportunity for people to just go back, watch AEW, and just watch something entertaining, because there was no protests, there was no heat, there was no bad stuff happened. There was nothing else occupying people's minds. So when wrestling came around, it was like, hell yeah, let's watch some wrestling. AEW did really well. I mean, as you can see there, they got a 0.36 in the demo, and that's in the 18 to 49 demo. That is the key demo that everything works out on. And they did brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly. I was really happy that my guess that I was right for a change, because it's not often man right, but that was cool. They did really well. I mean, 854. Cannot complain at all. Now, compare that to NXT. Even NXT did a lot better than I thought they would. Can I get that off my screen, please? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So, I thought NXT would do around 500k, because what we've seen with NXT in the end of 2020, the start of 2021, and when there's big news on, is that much like AEW, NXT will suffer big with news, but lately they've been suffering a lot more than AEW has. Now, last week they were in around the 550k number, which is really bad. This week they've went back up to 659,000 total viewers. They got a 0.15 in the demo. So, I mean, they were 67th in total. It's not a great place for NXT at all, but at least they've managed to retain some viewers and maybe win some back against the impeachment last week. Now, as I said at the start of the show, there's news developing as we speak that may affect NXT and their slot on the USA Network, because I think it's NBA Sports. I'll have more on the story next week. By the time we get to next week, the story will be out. There'll be more facts on it, and I'll have a lot more information for you. But apparently, I think it's NBC Sports is closing down. They're moving all their main shows to USA Network. So obviously, if NXT keep dying and keep doing shit in the ratings like this, and USA have got like a NASCAR show on a Wednesday that they can show, then they will probably start showing that. If that happens, this can only be good for both shows. The main thing, one of the main dry things that keeps AEW below like 1 million viewers, and one of the things that stops AEW getting 854,000 viewers, is the slot. It's the fact that NXT is used to attack. Like, NXT is scheduled at the same time as AEW solely to damage the AEW viewership. It's a really petty move by Vince McMahon and by WWE, but they do it. We know that when AEW is not up against NXT, it does a lot better. We know that NXT, when AEW is in a different slot, that it does a lot better. So I'm hoping that something happens here. I'm hoping that USA Network take control of the situation and they just tell WWE, like, look, we're moving that. We want everyone to get good slots and good ratings, because at the end of the day, it's better. WWE just want to be the king. They just want to damage their competition. I don't understand that. I understand they want to challenge competition and they want to be the top, but the way they try and erode what their competition doing, I think it's just pathetic, and it's been pathetic for years. This could, if NXT is forced to move to a different slot, I think it'll be the best thing for everyone involved. And that is the end of today's show. So it seems that we've been exactly the same length as last week. So I tried to be shorter, but I guess I am too verbose. If you have liked watching this, if you like listening to it, please support me by following me. If you can, subscribe. I've got merch and stuff like that, donations, blah, 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 blah. You can follow me at Steve Smith VB or officially at Voice Britannia on Twitter. But for me, that's everything for me. I have spoke my load. It is all out. I have got nothing else to say. on this week's AEW. I will be back next week. Cheerio and have a great day.